Hey everyone, Brian Zane here. Well, this Sunday, AEW brings you its second Revolution pay-per-view. Lots of matches on that card on Sunday I'm very excited about, many of which have stories that have been building for quite a long time. It feels like the blow-off is imminent for many of these matches. So I'm going to give you my predictions for this Sunday's card, beginning with the Casino Tag Team Battle Royal, in which the winning team gets a future shot at the tag titles. I'm just going to go off my phone and read what teams are on here according to Wikipedia's entry for it. Bear Country, the Dark Order, a different version of it, the Inner Circle, the Butcher and the Blade, Private Party, Death Triangle, that's Pac and Ray Phoenix, Varsity Blondes, the Sydal Brothers, SCU, the Natural Nightmares, the Chaos Project, the Gun Club, and another version of the Dark Order. My goodness. Well, with those kind of odds, honestly, with this one, it's kind of up in the air. There's so many teams that are part of this. It's impossible to nail down one team that could definitively win. It's not as though they've been building up the tag team battle royal very well, except for that closing brawl to end the go-home Dynamite. But if I had a choice, I think with those odds, I think one version of the Dark Order, although my preference is Reynolds and Silver, are going to win. Well, it's safe to say that Miro's run since jumping ship to AEW has not gone the way many fans, myself included, would have hoped. He's been kind of bogged down in this angle, working with Kip Sabian and feuding almost exclusively with the best friends in Orange Cassidy since he's been around. And of course, it really peaked at the wedding at Beach Break when Charles the Butler and Orange Cassidy kind of ruined things for Kip and Penelope. So this grudge match is a long time coming. I think this is going to be a match in which Miro and Kip will win. I think Miro is just going to crank the hell out of Orange Cassidy, and Cassidy will very lazily do a tap out or something. I think it's going to be a big win for Miro and Kip, and hopefully after that point, all sides can move on from this storyline and just go on to do something, literally anything else. Hangman Page versus Big Money Matt Hardy in a big money match in which the winner gets the loser's earnings for quarter one. I actually really enjoy the stipulation here. The build and the path they took to get to this point has been very interesting, where Hangman Page is kind of like turned away from the Dark Order, who still want him in their fold. Matt Hardy wants to try and swoop in and take advantage of him, but in doing so, Page kind of swerves him. And so now Matt's really showing his psychotic side. Having been duped, like he doesn't want to let that go, and now he's going to attack all the Dark Order members to get to Page. And so now we have the stipulation. I love the money stipulation because I think that's what's lost in wrestling today, is that it's a job, it's a profession, and in kayfabe, you're supposed to be fighting for the most money. Money is very valuable in wrestling, and it's something I think is kind of lost in the shuffle among other things that people fight in wrestling for, that other fans flock to wrestling storylines for. So it's very old school, and I appreciate that. Matt Hardy mentioned on Twitter the other day he is undefeated in AEW pay-per-views, and I think that is going to keep going here. I think Matt is going to win through some kind of nefarious means, Private Party helping him out, or something like that. And, it sucks for Page because he's lost a lot of pay-per-view matches, but I think it's all part of his story. I don't think it's going to benefit him to be like, haha, I have Matt Hardy's money. And I don't think it's going to change. I think it'd be more interesting to see where he and the Dark Order go from here than where it would go if, Page won Matt Hardy's money for quarter one. Well, last year at Revolution, the Young Bucks were one half of what was considered by many to be the match of the year in that tag title match against Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. I don't think they're going to be as lucky this time around when they take on MJF and Chris Jericho. Not saying that MJF and Jericho are bad, because they are not. I just think it's going to be a whole different kind of chemistry here. These two, MJF and Jericho, don't really work the kind of speed or style that the Young Bucks particularly thrive in. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad match. It's just not going to be, it's not going to live up to the hype of the last Young Bucks match at Revolution. That's all I'm saying. As far as who I think is going to win this one, I think it would be better for both the continuation of the angle with the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers, and for the continuation of MJF and Jericho's thread in the Inner Circle for Jericho and MJF to win the tag team championships. I don't think the Bucks need the tag titles. I mean, I'm sure that's a big incentive as to why they formed their own company, was to be their own tag team champions, but they can't be the champs forever, and I think there's a lot more meat on the bone of MJF and Jericho as tag champs right now than there's the Young Bucks at this moment. So my pick, Inner Circle win. Well, for the first time since Night of Champions 2015, the Icon Sting is competing on pay-per-view once again Again, he's teaming with the TNT champion Darby Allin against Team Taz in a street fight, and all signs seem to indicate this is going to be a cinematic match on the show, something that's pre-taped, and I think that's going to be good for a couple of reasons. One, I think that the cinematic style, when executed properly, can do a very good job at telling stories. Also, as we saw in, say, the Boneyard match last year with The Undertaker, I think that a street fight is something cinematic where there's editing and it's filmed in a certain way can help hide any deficiencies Sting might have for having not wrestled in almost 6 years. And I think in the not in a ring environment will also help things as well. When it's more of like a stylistic cinematic brawl, I think that Sting, anyone can do anything pretty much if the editing's there. And so I think it's going to benefit Sting as well. I think you have also have a lot of possibility of like the supernatural. I think there could be some teleportation there as well. Some kind of stunt shooting with like Darby Allin doing something crazy in a body bag probably. But this is going to be I think it's going to be a very entertaining matchup. And the way this has been built, think about like it began last year when Taz tried to, bring Darby Allin into the fold and he rejected him. And then Brian Cage came in, and then Ricky Starks came in, and then Sting comes in to help Darby. Like the way this has all been kind of like building up to this point is probably one of the biggest long-term storylines in AEW right now. So I think it's great that they're having this match here on pay-per-view. Sting coming back, I am excited for on one level. Even if it's not a proper like match, it'll be cool to see him compete. And as far as who I think is going to win, I think it's going to be Sting and Darby. I doubt they brought Sting in to have him lose in his first pay-per-view match. And I think you have to have Darby looking strong here as well as the TNT champion. So that is my pick for this one. It should be very, very entertaining. In the face of the Revolution ladder match, the winner will go on to face the TNT champion for a title shot down the line. The participants that are announced right now are Cody Rhodes, Scorpio Sky, Lance Archer, Penta El Zero M, and Max Caster of the Acclaimed. There is a sixth spot that as of this recording has been unannounced, and it will probably be something that gets announced at the moment during his introduction for this matchup. I have no idea who that could possibly be. With speculation, and this also ties into the Big Show's Paul Wight's announcement on Sunday as to who the new signing is going to be. I have no expectations. I have no idea who it's going to be. Not even going to try and guess. That way, disappointment is near impossible. As far as who I think will win this, though, if it's not the mystery person in this ladder match, which I think like that's almost kind of like a guarantee way for somebody to win is if they're a mystery opponent. But history shows it's not always the case. But if it's somebody who's not a mystery as of right now, my pick would have to be Scorpio Sky. I think that maybe now is the time to pull the trigger on him as a single, as a bona fide like singles performer with a push. He's been in that singles path for a while now, but I mean he's been kind of treading water, not really been doing a whole lot at the moment. So I think that him getting a TNT championship match would further legitimize him and solidify him. I think it's time based on how long he's been a singles guy, and I think it would be very exciting to see him and Darby Allin tear it up for the TNT Championship. In yet another Women's Championship match with very minimal build, Hikaru Shida defends against Ryo Mizunami, who won the Eliminator Tournament just this past week on Dynamite. I say there's been a little build. They've been having the tournament for weeks and stuff, but half of it's been on YouTube, and also the winner was just declared this Wednesday, so it's not as if there's been a whole lot of time to build a program between these two competitors. That being said, I think it's going to be a great match. I think these two will work very well together. They have a history in Japan, not so much although in AEW, but I think they're going to tear the house down. I mean, when you put two awesome Joshi wrestlers together in any venue, it's hard to go wrong with that. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. That being said, I believe Shida will once again retain. I think it's just like to bring somebody in from out of the blue relatively, whose last like in-ring competition in America at least was Double or Nothing in its first year, to come in and just become champion doesn't seem very likely to me. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they keep Ryo on as kind of like maybe a recurring thing for a bit, but I don't think she's going to win the title. I think Hikaru is going to retain. And finally, in the main event, you've got Kenny Omega defending the AEW World title against Jon Moxley in an exploding barbed wire death match. This is a match that has not been tried very often here in America, and when it has been attempted, the results have been mixed at best. And meanwhile, of course, this match has a much richer lineage and history in Japan, and with these two having so many connections to Japan, it makes sense that this match is happening here at Revolution. Revolution, and this one should be really intense. I think with the non-sanctioned match they had last year at Full Gear, I think people were maybe some were disappointed, but I think the level of violence that they saw in that one was a little bit less than what some were expecting. And I think with this one, they really have an opportunity to really blow the lid off that and kind of exceed what they did in that non-sanctioned match. I think it's a perfect blow-off for the feud they've been having since the very first pay-per-view, Double or Nothing. Moxley comes in at the end and jumps Kenny Omega. That's how this whole thing began, and they've been feuding on and off ever since then. As far as who I think is going to win, I think Omega winning this one is kind of a slam dunk. It makes sense for Moxley to be written off in a big blaze of glory to go be a father, come back when the time is right. And Omega, I haven't been too thrilled with his time as champion yet, like I was expecting at the end of last year, but this is a good chance for him to kind of reestablish himself and get a big landmark win against somebody who everyone thinks in storyline, oh, he's got this one in the bag because he's the hardcore guy. But for Omega to win here, I think would be great for his legitimacy as champion. And I think, yeah, it's going to be a violent match, and I might be turning away at some parts of it because death matches aren't exactly my speed, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. But those are just my humble picks, folks. I apologize because this video was meant to be me and Jay Biggs doing predictions, but unfortunately he could not make it last night. We were supposed to film due to a medical emergency, but don't worry, he will be fine. And the plan is right now he might be joining me with the Revolution review, so stay tuned for that. What are your picks for the show on Sunday? Let me know who you think is going to win in the comments section below, and stay tuned for that review on Monday morning. And until then, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.